Hello, everyone. I'm Chris Stanis, your host at Voices of Women. I'm the founder of Women of Wisdom Foundation, and we have been empowering the dreams and spirit of women for over 30 years. We just celebrated our 30th annual WOW conference. It was last in 2022, and you can find out more about Women of Wisdom at www.womenofwisdom.org. So today I have Shenali Rajaranum with me. I hope I said that right this time.
Rajaratnam.
Rajaratnam. She is the visionary founder of Power of Women and the International Power of Women Digital Conference, which is happening September 8th through the 10th in 2023. She also is the co-founder of We Are the Hope. Shenali has a profound dedication to elevate women and foster the development of self, society, and the environment. With an impressive background in music, media, entertainment, and technology development, Shenali has spearheaded a conscious marketplace of the future and champions the concept of edutainment. She is committed to broaden the narrative and bring balance to humanity by approaching the issues we face with collaboration, peace, well-being, and love. Shenali has an unwavering passion for creating positive change and inspiring collective empowerment and embodies the kind of female leadership the world needs today. Shenali is excited to share her message about gender equality and building opportunities and awareness for women in leadership roles. So welcome, Shenali.
Thank you so much, Chris.
Well, I first want to start out with you sharing with us how you came about with a background in music, media, and entertainment. How did you get involved in that, and why is that your passion?
That's actually because of my brother. So when I was in high school, he had an entertainment company that connected Bollywood and Hollywood, and brand management. So that was my first internship working for him.
Oh, great. So you have a big background in media and entertainment. So what led you to call this edutainment?
Well, let's see. Edutainment is not a concept I invented. It has been around, and the World Bank actually did a reach. I found out after I called it edutainment. It was very intuitive, but I found out the World Bank had been doing research for the past 3, 4 years, maybe 5 years, as the next biggest wave of content creation, because it's catering to over 6 billion smart device users, and it's a way of really broadening perspectives.
Yeah, so much the world is so changing with technology and everybody walking around with their gadgets. So it makes perfect sense. So let's talk about how you got the idea of the Power of Women in starting that organization.
Power of Women, it was actually last year, 02/22/2022. A few of my friends called me because I'm a co-founder of We Are the Hope Foundation. And they told me, hey, let's do something for Women's Day. And I did not want to do something that was one-off. So I wanted to create something sustainable, and have always been interested in female leadership, especially global leadership. Um, so I got my friends together and we had a meeting. I got 7 of my friends, including myself. It was 8 of us. We came together. I called it the Power of Women Mastermind. And they all came from different backgrounds. One was the former Miss Sri Lanka for Miss Universe, former Miss Italy for Miss World, a reconstructive surgeon, a chemist, doctor of nutrition, a creative director, and a human resource executive, and myself. Such diverse backgrounds. We came together and we just talked about our experiences and what we want to do. I have always identified myself as a social entrepreneur. So just all of us coming together, talking, and then I realized there's something more to it than just doing a meeting. There's going to be something more, and that's how it came to be. And there's a story that goes beyond that, but that's how it started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. similar to myself with Women of Wisdom, I gathered 9 people together to create one conference, and one conference in '93. And the first night I stood up and said, "Welcome to the first annual," and that was the first inkling that this was more than just a conference. So similar, just bringing women together and creating. It's just great. So you know, and your other passion is about empowering women to be leaders. And how, I'm curious of how you see yourself developing. How do we develop women leaders? Some women are very shy to step into that role
I
and don't.
think leadership has a different, so we have to look at the word leadership and what does it mean to each and every one of us. So most of the time when you think of leadership, we think of, oh, it's at a political level or you have to be at this very high place. I mean, leadership can be as simple as having leadership of your own life.
Oh, I
Um,
say the same phrase. That's so interesting.
Really, it's that's how I see it. And I mean, we are leaders in our I mean, it starts with ourselves. Everything starts with ourselves. And then we are leaders in our families, especially moms. And then we take our communities, and there are leadership levels at every level of society. There are leadership roles at every level of society. So it's a matter of how do we really step into that, as opposed to thinking everything is happening to us. It's about really taking accountability for ourselves. It's easier said than done. It's not
Yeah.
easy to always do it, but I think that's why we are here, right? I mean, you're doing Women of Wisdom, Power of Women. Ultimately, we all have the same goal. How can we um, empower ourselves and also extend that space for others to feel empowered? And it goes far beyond women, because at the end of the day, we have to always think, if you're going to empower women, we also have to think of the men, because that's half of the population. And how are the mothers raising the sons? How are the sisters interacting with brothers? How are the daughters talking to their fathers? And how are wives talking to their husbands, to partners, friends? It's a balance, and
Right.
leadership is identifying that within yourself and also showing up, knowing you can be the catalyst to create that space for another person. And that's a little, I mean, that's just still touching the surface. It goes beyond, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, and it is, yeah, that accountability and knowing that, yeah, I say the same thing. You're a leader of your own life, so you are a leader. And a lot of women, they don't want to step up to that because they see leaders as, being in charge of an organization or, a politician, things like that. And actually, really, it's just about sharing your voice and being who you are in the world and in your relationships. And you're right about the balance of, how are we going to raise our children growing up in this world to create that balance? And so how we raise our sons, the new generation coming forward, how are we raising them to look at the world in that equal balance of the feminine, honoring the feminine just as equal as the masculine. So and right now there's not a balance of the number of women leaders, especially in the decision making processes in corporations and politicians, and there is more and more. But we as women also need to honor women who step into those roles, support them. I think that's part of it too.
I think you touched upon a few great points. One, I want to go in order. When you say feminine and masculine, I think every single person, whether you're born a male or a female, we all have the feminine and masculine energies within us. It's not really reserved for being a male or a female. It's just us recognizing that as humans within ourselves, whether you're a male or a female, realizing, okay, we have these energies. How do we navigate that? Being aware of it is the first step. And then the second thing you said, decision making processes. I mean, we need that perspective. In order to understand the full story, we need multiple perspectives. And that's where you need the female perspective. And the third point I want to address is women supporting each other. I mean, I think this narrative of women are being jealous of each other or competitive, trying to, like, I think this needs to stop. At least if we can shine the spotlight on real stories of real friendships, real stories, and make that normalize that. I think that's the most crucial point, because this idea, this narrative of women pitting against each other, they're competitive, I think it's really old news. And I think especially my generation, personally, I feel like I don't resonate with that. So I don't see the world that in the same way. So because of that, and I have very good friends, I have such incredible women and men in my life. So I want to highlight those, normalize those, because it exists. If we don't even know it exists, how are we going to even experience it? So it's important. That's where, again, edutainment comes to play. How can we showcase these perspectives, these narratives, so people have something to look up to and be like, oh, I want that. It
Right.
seems it exists. So I think that's part of what we're all doing at the end of the day.
Right. And having those role models so we can, have that example. And you're right about the competition and comparing ourselves. And I think people have to realize we all have our gifts. And so there isn't a need to compare yourself or be competitive, because we all came here with our gifts to share in the world and find our place in that, and honor ourselves of who we are. So
Right.
you're talking about that, bringing that feminine perspective, and I totally agree that feminine, masculine, it isn't everybody, but we're looking at this feminine perspective and the dialogue for creating change. How do we bring that? We're facing so many problems in our world. So, how do we get women to take that step, to be at the table, to have those dialogues, to get in there and have that perspective listened to?
I think this is what I always say. We don't have all the answers. The world is in a turbulent and dark space, and I have said that many times. And we don't have all the answers, but together we can figure out. That being said, when you look at the word history, it says history. And up until about less than 100 years ago, women were not really allowed to write books, hold positions of power in the political sphere, do paintings, poetry, you name it. I mean, even if you look at any of the religious books, there are no female, I mean, major female global figures that we follow in the main religions. There's Mother Mary, but that's because Mother Mary is the mother of Jesus. So I think at this point in time, it's more than women stepping in. There's no choice at this point. We need the feminine perspective. We need the female perspective. We need the female wisdom to be a part of decision-making processes, only because when you look at the environment, I mean, there's a climate crisis. This summer is the first summer we are actually able to experience, no matter which part of the world you're in.
Right.
That the weather is not what we are used to. And right before I came to Colombo, I'm in Colombo right now, I live in LA. I went to San Francisco, I went to London, I went to Turkey, I went to Greece, and came to Colombo. One thing I heard, no matter where I went, all the locals were saying, the weather, it's so hot. It has never been this hot. And there were electrical explosions in Turkey. What does that tell us? There's an imbalancement even in nature that we're experiencing. And I like to think everything comes back to self. Whatever is within is what's being reflected outside. And what every individual is going through at a global scale, whether we talk about it or not openly, everybody's going through this confusion, this questioning. What am I even doing? After the pandemic, it became more profound, where people are questioning. And I think it comes back to how do we take care of this? And my favorite quote by Einstein is a definition of insanity is doing the same thing and expecting different results. So it's a matter of women stepping up, and us women who are already feeling empowered, or they have that confidence. Let's create that space. Let's create a safe space for other women to be a part of that. Invite them into that circle, so they don't feel judged. They don't feel misunderstood. None of us are perfect, but at least we can start somewhere. And I think recognition and respect are key components of it. Recognizing each other for what we bring to the table, and also recognizing each other as we are all humans at the end of the day, having this human experience. Nobody has it easy. It's very difficult to, I mean, navigate life. And how can we create that space? That's one of the things. And again, going back to the competition, comparison, how can we reflect, go back within to reflect who we are, truly understanding who I am, the point of I, so that way we can really come and bring our best selves to the table. So I think it's not an easy answer to say, how do we do it? We have to just start somewhere. And I think Power of Women is doing exactly that. How can we create a safe space where there's no judgment, we're open-minded and not trying to impose each other's ideas to each other, but really learning to listen to each other, being open to new perspectives, just like your perspective is valid to you, recognizing and respecting another person's perspective, which is valid to them. So I think it's gonna take the entire global population to do it, but I think it starts with self. If we all take accountability and create that space for ourselves and for others, I think that's the first step.
Right. Yeah. It's that inner work. And you mentioned several things. And one of the things about Women of Wisdom too is we've created a safe place for the space for women to share their stories. And when we share our stories, there's healing in that. And when other people hear your stories, they can resonate. Oh, that's me too. And then they don't feel so isolated, that it gives them permission to share their story. And so I think stories are a very important part of that, of creating the safe space. And opening to, I mean, I think we have to reach out and be with other people. Things can be so, especially during the COVID, we're coming out now, but we need to reach out and be part of other groups to connect and talk to people. And that's what you're doing, bringing these people together in your conference. So one of the things I'm curious about, because you talk, all these things are going on in global, the climate change and all that, we need hope. And what gives us hope? And also it gets overwhelming. What can one person do? What can I do? And then some that kind of keeps people stopping doing something. So what could I do to change the world? But like you said, it all starts within ourselves. And if we change ourselves and then meet up with others who are interested in changing themselves and the world, it starts a dialogue. I think what you're talking about is getting the dialogue going.
Absolutely. I want to address a few things. I think I don't think we can change the world or change another person, but we can change ourselves.
Right.
I believe we are only capable of changing ourselves. And by doing that, we can inspire another person to change for themselves. And if we all take accountability for our own self, not trying to look at others, point fingers at others and say, hey, you're not doing that right, you could do this better. Just take accountability for yourself. And if every single one of us took accountability for ourselves, that is collective change. That is the world changing. And I think that's where it starts. And we have to have hope at the end of the day. I mean, what are we all looking for in our life? I think this goes beyond gender, sex, or anything. As beings that are existing, what are we all looking for at the core of it? Why are we trying to make money or have the best job or do this, or like, why? We're all looking for that peace of mind, to feel whatever that brings us joy is bringing us peace of mind, and then well-being for ourselves, our loved ones, and the place we are living, the environment. Because even when we talk about well-being, I mean, we at Power of Women, we see it in seven pillars of well-being, whether it's spiritual, social, emotional, psychological, physical, economical, and environmental. So when we look at these 7 areas of well-being, if as long as we have those 7 areas of well-being in balance, we have a peace of mind. As long as we have it for ourselves and our loved ones, I mean, we have peace of mind. And I think that's what we're all looking for. And in order to have even peace of mind, I mean, what are the most basic things every single one of us need? We need food to survive. We need water, and clean air to breathe. When we think in terms of what makes us so similar, what makes us alike, these are the basic things that connects us at the end of the day. And when we're thinking of in terms of these components, I think that's where we have to come together. We don't really have a choice of working alone. And you said something earlier, the pandemic really made us realize that we have to work together. I think as humans, I don't think we were meant to be alone ever, in isolation or in solitude. Although that there are certain purposes when you're meditating. And what is meditating? That's breathing. um but we do have hormones that get activated when we are interacting with people, so that means biologically we are wired to interact with people, be among people. And I think that's so important, that we have to figure out, again, not trying to change the world. Let's all take accountability for ourselves. Let's create that space, and starting that dialogue. And there's no solution if there's no open conversations we can have. And we need men to be a part of it, because this is not just a woman's world, or this is not just a man's world, or any way you consider this world to be, whatever gender or whatever it is. It's not just one-sided. It's we are all sharing along with the animals and the trees and the everything. So it's starting that dialogue by three steps. We say is, how can we be reflective with everything we do and we say, having that point of reflection, and then also recognizing and respecting another person, and then also being solution driven. How can we, because we're so tired. I mean, if you look at throughout history, we complain a lot about what's not working. We already know so many things are not working. What can we do about it? Like, let's be solution driven. Let's look at new ways of approaching something. Let's be open to new perspectives, open to new ways of seeing the world, instead of being so stuck on the way we see. So that's, again, having an open dialogue, an open conversation, creating that space so we can feel safe, not attacked. Doesn't have to walk on eggshells. Oh, if I say one thing wrong, I'm going to get attacked or canceled. No, let's give each other the space to bring our best selves, not create a space where waiting for people to bring their worst. No, let's create the space to bring them their best selves. So I think that's very crucial.
Yeah, yes. And it just reminds me, I kind of look at the younger generation of having a mindset of creativity, like approaching problems from it's that solution-based way of looking at things, but it's also being creative, opening the mind to think creatively. And that gives me hope. The younger generation kind of gives me hope to bring the new perspectives, because their lives are a little different than ours, or mine. I'm older than you. I'm in the boomer age, and it's wonderful to meet up with the young, have intergenerational dialogues, because we all kind of see the world differently, and be open to that, like, to be open to the new ideas. And I, talking about being with men, are you finding that men are opening the doors for women to join the dialogue? Because I think a lot of women feel that's kind of a closed door, like there's not that space for them at the table. Are you seeing a change in that?
Well, the reason why we are doing the Power of Women Digital Conference is because I see it in two ways. It's also the way how we show up and how we navigate the system. And if we go in already thinking, oh, the doors are closed, I think it might be true. But if we find ways to, instead of blaming anybody or victimizing our own selves, I mean, I'm not saying it's the same everywhere. I'm just speaking from my experience. Um, I think if we go with an open mind, it's not easy. I mean, doing the conference too, I had an experience actually today. Sometimes men do want to claim their space, but that's not every man. So we shouldn't categorize every man. And so many men are supporting this movement, because Power of Women is not a new movement. I mean, the women's movement has been happening for so long. This is the new generation, the younger generation, taking its own turn in 2003, 2002. I mean, in the 2020s, we are taking our own way of approaching the women's movement. And it comes from, let's not demand for equality because you demand for something you don't have. Let's step into innate power, innate greatness, because as women, we are so powerful already. I mean, who gives life to this earth? I mean, it's mother. A mother gives life. So if a woman can recognize that, oh my God, we create life, I think that's already a game changer. And who raises both sons and daughters? For the most part, it's a mother. So if we can really have the mothers feel empowered, she can raise the son and the daughter a certain way that won't treat other women or like, his sister or whatever, the way we are used to. And being creative with solutions again. Why edutainment? Edutainment is whether we like it or not, music, media, and entertainment are the silent reinforcers of societal norms. That's what we see in the social, like on social media when we are scrolling, on TV, movies, music. They're constantly reiterating this narrative. We don't even realize we are programming ourselves and reprogramming and accepting it because we're so used to it. We are desensitized by it. So that's why edutainment. How can we still create very creative, fun, entertaining content and broaden the perspective? Let's amplify the voices of women and their perspectives. So again, if we can start seeing it in movies, I think the doors will slowly start opening because we are now seeing the world as, oh, it's open or it's different now. And even the conference, again, why we are doing the conference, because I'm interested in global leadership. When I found out about the G20 summit, which was happening in India this year, I of course went and checked who are the leaders that's going to be coming together for the summit, because there are so many meetings, but the main ones, you have the president or the prime minister come from the 20 group of 20 countries. And I guess not to my surprise, but then again, I was a little surprised. Out of 20 leaders from the 20 most powerful nations in the world, 18 of them are male, only 2 of them are females. So I feel like there's a huge imbalancement. We're not saying, oh, it needs to be equal where we need exactly 10 women and 10 men. No, it's about incorporating the female perspective. I mean, we're half of the population at the end of the day. So I think once we start to realize how valuable we are half of the population, half of everything, how everything is functioning. Women give life to the world. I think that's when women start to realize that, and when we have an open dialogue with men. And I mean, when you remind them, how did you come to this world? Because every king is born out of a woman. And I think that starts with really reflection. How can we start reflecting? And women, at the end of the day, if we were to speak statistically, are I mean, consumerism wise, women consume the most, runs the economy. And there are so many statistics that makes women so crucial. It's a matter of women recognizing it. And it's not looking around, it's starting with ourselves. What do I bring to the table? What do I bring to myself? Again, starting with self and then slowly developing. And I think the world is changing because there are so many men that are very supportive, that are really standing behind. I mean, power of women, everything we are doing, I would say 50% of it is are men who is really opening the doors for us, who's really going that extra step to see how can this support us. Maybe the entire world doesn't reflect that, but at least if we start somewhere, even if it's only a small group of people, we can slowly expand, and hopefully that will be the entire world soon in our lifetime.
Yes, well, it works that, when we do that inner work we're talking about, and when we put our intention out there, the world starts to reflect back. If you're intending like, well, the doors are closed, it's a man's world, that's what we're going to see. If we're going to put out there that it's a world of humanity, men and women all together, and I want to see that reflected, it starts to show, the universe starts to reflect it back to us. And so again, it's that, being accountable to ourselves and holding that vision of what we want in the world going forward. So tell us about the conference, how people can register, what's going to happen at it.
The conference is going to be running parallel to the G20 summit, and we have been so fortunate and to be having an official collaboration with C20, that's the Civil 20, the official engagement group of G20. So this is a 48-hour conference. We are bringing both women and men women from so many different fields, from Olympians to royalty to executives of major Fortune 500 companies to youth voices. We're just bringing so many different voices to really share stories and storytelling. I think storytelling is one of the best ways to resonate with someone, learn a lesson, and really find insights and wisdom that we can apply to our life. And when we are talking about broadening the narrative, this is one of the steps we are taking this conference. It's also edutainment. There's going to be music. There's going to be sharing of different perspectives, men and women having dialogues, open a space to have dialogues. And it's really transforming the way how we even know what a conference is, because we're taking it fully digital. We live in a digital world, and the pandemic really reinforced it. And I think it's time that we start taking things looking at things differently, and that's what Power of Women Digital Conference is doing. We have live polling, so any person who is participating can be a part of the conversation, and your voice can be heard. And when you're polling, you can actually see other people's results and really understand, okay, just like I'm thinking like this, there are 1,000 million, a billion others who think a certain way, and some of us may fall in the same bucket, but some of us may not. But recognizing and respecting each other's perspective, so really creating that space for dialogue and creating that content. We have a fast-paced content that we're doing because we live in an information economy, especially my generation and below. We want to hear things very fast, not sit there for hours listening. So taking those bite-sized pieces, 10-minute to 15-minute segments that goes fast. There are panel discussions, workshops. It's really to have that open conversation and really expand the perspective. So it's going to be a very fun conference. I believe it's first of its kind that we're bringing on. So
that's great. So people can go to www.powerofwoman.info to
correct.
register, and it's free. Is
Yes.
there information of the schedule, and will people find, because it's 48 hours in a row, so people will probably be coming in and out because of in time zones.
Yeah. I think the fun thing is you can tune in anytime from anywhere. You will still be able to, even if it's just for 15 minutes, you will still be able to catch something amazing. The schedule is going to be posted online on Monday. We have so many speakers, over 80 plus speakers to coordinate with, the incredible speakers, spiritual leaders. Like I said, so many different individuals coming together. So the schedule, just follow us on Instagram. We are posting our speakers over there as well. So yeah.
Oh, it sounds great. So thank you so much, Shenali, for being here today and sharing your wisdom and inspiring us for the potential for change in our world. It's just everyone, it's about everyone taking their step forward, and you're doing that in your way, and I'm doing mine, and people are listening, or I think it's important to reflect, well, what is my step to take?
I think, being accountable for yourself. I mean, with Power of Women, in what you're doing, I think it's not about competition, it's about collaboration. I believe what you're doing is a part of the puzzle. What I'm doing is part of the puzzle. And there's no I at that point, because we're all humans at the end of the day. We all need to have a shared mission for humanity, a shared set of values as humans. And what can I do? Let's start recognizing another person and valuing another person, and do that same for yourself. It begins with yourself. And I think being reflective. What kind of a person are you? What do you like? Why are you here? Why are you even existing? What can you do? Let's not harm anybody. I think that's very crucial. That's a fundamental point. Let's not try to hurt or harm anyone, and be kind to your own self, not even do that for yourself. And really coming together, when people are coming together, let's show up with an open mind and contribute in that sense. Let's hold the space. That's the least we could do. Power of Women is doing this digital conference. Anybody can be a part of it. Be a part of this new way of seeing the world. Our logo is a bee. how does a beehive function? Let's think about that. That's the longest lasting colony in the animal kingdom, because they're all independent at the same time, codependent. So really, really recognizing each other's value and doing what you can do and bring to the table and taking accountability.
Right. Well, thank you so much, Shenali. That was great to talk with you today. I hope everybody signs up for your conference. It's going to be exciting.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me, Chris.